We've got a couple of guest artists with us today. First, we've got on the trumpet, Dr. Josh Reed. On the vibraphone, we've got Alec Streete. SeaJun. We're going to be playing a bunch of post-bop tunes for you, some more recent stuff. So we're going to start with this tune called Pinocchio. Hope you enjoy. One, two. shorter tune called Fall, which is a lot more relaxed, something we would call a ballad in this class. So hope you enjoyed. You're thinking about things we talked about in class, about like what do you notice in instrumentation, what's happening in the instruments. Keep thinking about that kind of stuff.
Anybody have any questions? Happy Friday, snowy Friday. Standard Friday. So yeah, there is one. Sweet.
I saw you put your beanie on the drums. Do you do that often?
No, that was a interesting creative choice. I didn't want to overplay Josh, but I wanted to play something very dense under him, and so it's way more dead and quiet, right? So I was able to play a lot of busy snare stuff without it flowing over. That was all.
How did you make that like kind of blue note at the end there? Was it kind of just like in between?
Okay, do you play guitar at all?
Saxophone.
Okay, saxophone player. So imagine a high harmonic on guitar, like where you can just like lightly touch the string, or on bass too. It's a similar effect where certain half valves will make it pop like an octave higher. And can make that come out. And then you can also then, like the one I did on the tune before, you can do a double buzz to kind of create multiphonics, which is similar to a saxophone multiphonic, but like more growly. It's not me singing, you can do that one too. That sounds like shit, my voice is too low, it doesn't really work. But like you can get really interesting combinations. Getting things like that to come out, like it takes some warming up to like really make that happen. But that's like a whole another world of soundscapes. I do a lot with guitar pedals on trumpet in the last couple of years, but I flew here from Reno and had a recording last night, so I didn't bring all that stuff. But I spent years kind of trying to figure out a bunch of extended techniques on the trumpet. I'm metal punk rock kid, grew up that way, that now has a doctorate in jazz and runs a program, but like I grew up in metal and punk and was like, I want to be a guitarist, but I play the trumpet. And so it's like, how can I imitate distorted guitar on this thing? And so it spent years like hurting myself trying to physically figure it out before I figured out how to do it well and not just destroy my face. But it's kind of fun to be able to go from like, you know, playing where I can add it in the middle of a phrase depending on what's happening around me. I do a lot of free improvising, and so like it just gives me like a whole nother depth of material that I can pull from when I want, which has been kind of a fun exploration. Some people like it, some people hate it. Doesn't matter because I have fun doing it. So, yeah. Anybody else? Kind of open books up here. Obviously I teach classes like this as well. Just at a different university. I went here and like I like trying to get you involved in understanding what we're doing rather than just sitting there and cool, we're hearing some music, it's great, it's Friday, I want to go back to sleep and have a beer. Like, you know, so like please feel free to ask questions, like jump in, ask what we're doing. Like, I've never met this human before, we just played music and that's fantastic and it's really fun and we're trying to listen to each other and see what that's like. Or SeaJun I played with once before, I think. Zach I've known for years, but like, he literally sent me the set list of these tunes last night. I don't know these tunes, I'm sight reading them, but I was playing another gig, so it's just showing up and like hanging on my ass trying to figure out how to do this. But like that's what we do and it's kind of fun for us to have that conversation. So if you have questions about that, like please don't be afraid to ask anything. Like, we would rather have you involved and be excited about it.
What cues do you give each other to like, say like start this phrase or like end things?
A lot of it's musical and like listening because we are like, you know, we're still reading forms and stuff, but they're interesting forms. It's not like just easy songs. And so like there's some stuff where we've kind of gotten like a little bit out of time and got more fluid, where like SeaJun does like a bunch of like really interesting rhythmic superimpositions, and so paying attention to each other. And so like Zach and I were really cued in on the first tune for like where the form was happening. So a lot of it's like little musical things, but there's definitely some like, even with that, like just marking like this is the top of the form, or like maybe he'd do something where he's like playing the next chord so I can hear where that is and rolling it. So a lot of it's musical rather than visual right now. But sometimes there's going to be stuff where you'll see like, you point at my head, it means we're going back to the melody, like the head melody statements, little things like that. Or like the second tune, I just put my horn down and I was like, I'm not taking the first solo, so he just started playing. So like there are some visual ones that are a little bit harder to catch that we're doing, but I'd say a lot of it's musical.
How much like communication goes into this? Kind of similar to that, like into the solos. Like I know in the first song it was like you and like and it was like one by one. Is that like pre-determined beforehand, or is that kind of just dictated by the?
No, it's totally open for order. The old stock BS model is horn player solos first, and then it's accompanying instrument. Then there might be a bass solo and drums. If you know, like it's not fun that way. To me, at least, I like being much more fluid and open with it. And so, like that's where like, yes, I took the first solo, but that's why the second tune I was like, I'm not taking the first solo. I'm just gonna put it down. It could also be a thing where maybe we'd start improvising together at some point, or like I'm playing some musical cues. Like he stopped comping or supporting the bass solo, which is a really cool thing to do. And then so I started playing some melody lines and little things, where I feel like so many times horn players are put into this, I play the melody, I'm important, and then I solo, and then I'm just gonna go, you know, stand over here and hang out and have my beer at the bar while you all play and come back for the melody. I don't like that. I wanna be, as you can see, like I'm standing like right in the middle, like not super out front, like I wanna be involved in the band and like have it be a more communicative experience the whole time. Yeah. Anybody else?
Would you say like one genre of jazz is your favorite to play?
No. I can tell you something I don't like to play. I'm not into like the really old school like 1920s. Yeah, just like New Orleans trad stuff is not my jam. But again, like I said, like I grew up listening to punk rock. So like my last record is all indie rock tunes done in a really weird free context with we cover Nirvana, Wilco, Radiohead, and stuff that I grew up with. And so that's really fun for me. Last night was like totally kind of like avant-garde versions, but of tunes. So that's fun. This is great. I love playing post-bop music. I do a lot of work with big bands, whether I'm directing them or playing in them. Next week, anybody heard of Butcher Brown? And do yourselves a favor, go check out Butcher Brown.
We'll talk about it when we talk about hip-hop jazz crossovers.
Yeah, they just dropped a new record last week, 2 weeks ago, and they're a hip-hop group from Virginia. But like they're coming to Reno and they're doing a big band set, but like with a hip-hop group. And so like that's gonna be really fun for my students and also me. But like they're killing. They're doing a bunch of work with like Robert Glasper and really kind of all over the place. And so there's no one style that's my favorite. There's just certain ones that I don't enjoy as much. But a lot of it is just the group you get to play with too, and like how much fun you can have playing together and experiencing that.
Cool.
What kind of effects pedals do you use?
Right now, I'm running a Chase Bliss Brothers for overdrive, Pitchfork Plus for harmony, Mood Mark II from Chase Bliss for granular looping, also Microcosm from Hologram for granular looping. I use Source Audio for both delay and reverb with Adventurous and Nemesis for like dual channels. And I just got a Lossy, which is kind of weird. I haven't figured out yet. So trying to explore some stuff. I think I'm gonna ditch the Microcosm because it's a really amazing pedal that on the trumpet only gives me one thing that I like, and it's a $500 pedal that takes up a lot of real estate. So if I'm not really using it, I should probably ditch it to put something else on there. So constantly exploring. But I do it for like a couple bands that are more pop oriented for like solos. But I do a lot of like solo trumpet at home, like layering and doing stuff too. And did a big project with a visual artist a couple years ago up at a gallery at Lake Tahoe for like music with visual stuff for this combination. That was pretty cool. So it's been a whole really fun project over the last couple of years to try to figure out, because they don't respond the same way the trumpet as it does to guitar. Yeah. Cool. We're going to continue with a tune called Punjab by Joe Henderson. You got that intro? So there, that's a cue, right? There's an intro on this tune that sometimes the horn player plays, sometimes they don't. All I do is like, man, you got that? Yes. Great. I don't want to play. Little things that make sense.
One, two, one, two.
questions? So we got one more for you. What's up?
On vibes, I noticed during that piece, you sort of like a different mallet, and like press it against that, like the top row. What that?
Yeah, it bends the note. Like if I wanted to kind of do like a different effect. I only used it a little bit in there. A couple moments, but yeah.
Different context, maybe he might use more.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little more, I would say avant-garde. Like free situations. Maybe, you know, skip it to gibbering fact. Yep.
Okay. Play?
Yeah. It's actually blues. I mean, kind of blues.
You know, I got yelled at once for calling it a blues, so.
Was it me that yelled at you?
No.
Gary Bergonzi said it's blues.
Oh,
It's
so,
blues.
okay, no,
Yeah, Bergonzi said it, it's blues.
okay, alright, well, we're gonna call an audible. We're gonna play a tune all together with this other wonderful master student trumpet player, Picco Lopez, give him a hand. We're gonna play an old tune called Solar. So, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoy.
Solar.
Miles Davis competition.
Is it though?
I don't think.
I don't think so, but
If you get Miles,
There's a controversy about this one of whether Miles wrote it or somebody else wrote it and Miles stole it, which was not abnormal.
I'm gonna say Miles Davis didn't write any.
Yeah.
Go read his autobiography. It's a great comedy book. Okay. Solar. One, two, one, two. questions about anything?
Mini wife.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Why is it snowing in April?
When you came in the last couple songs, you come in for like 2 notes and then stop. Was that just like to support the rest?
Yeah, it
of
was usually like to give some sort of like comping thing for somebody else to like show somewhere in the form when somebody else is playing.
Yeah, like over here, we were asking about musical cues, right? So that's not, sometimes it's neat, right? Sometimes you hear like, and we're like, okay, 3, 4, top of the 4. That's usually, if a drummer is doing that kind of thing, that's usually like, hey, 1, 2, top of the melody, right? So that everybody knows where we are. That's not always the drummer. Sometimes it's other instruments. And it's cool when it's not me, because then I don't have to do it. It makes it more fun.
For conversation.
Yeah. What else?
When you're like improvising, like you're thinking about what to play, what is going on inside your head? Is it like I gotta play this note to fit this, or is it just like a thought?
Hopefully nothing. Like that's the goal, is to like do enough shed time in the practice room that when I get there, it all goes away, and I can just try to listen and play. It's different when you're reading something. That makes it really different. So I'm like, well, shit, I don't know what the chord changes are, so I need to like, and it's pretty intense. So I need to look at this and figure out how it works. Then I'm thinking, am I playing the right notes on the right chord at the right moment, while also still trying to like back off and listen. And doing a lot of free playing helps with that, because then it's okay if there's a wrong note here and there. It's more about the flow and how it works together. But yeah, the goal is just to go blank and just pay attention to what's going on around you and be supported by other people, and even as a soloist, try to think about how you're supporting them so that they sound better, even though if you're playing. Yeah.
I think we can do one more question. No?
Oh, hey.
How old were you when you started playing instruments?
Say that one more time.
How old were we when we started playing? Oh, geez.
I was 11, and I'm 41, so
When'd you start?
30 years.
You started when you were what?
I was 11.
11. 30 years?
12. 20, mid-20.
Yeah, I played drums from like age 10 or so, but I didn't really start doing jazz drums until I was like 18.
Sixth grade, and I didn't get, yeah, I didn't get good until 2 years before, like now. So yeah.
Yeah, 6th grade, yeah, same thing, but I didn't start playing jazz till college.
Yeah.
High school, I was
Same.
classical.
Yep.
But that was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
See next
Have a
time.
wonderful evening.
Yeah, man. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, really weird.